Here we go. Welcome, Jen.
Good afternoon. This is not the first Zoom I'm seeing you on today. This probably
No, not at all. I don't know how many it's been, but it's been a few.
Oh, Zoom. Anybody else zoomed out? I don't know. You're here, so I guess not. It's just me today. But we're here to talk about the one thing in the One Thing series. How many of you were here last week with Brooke and Tiffany?
Oh, look at all those people.
I love that. So before we even start sharing the screen and going over the PowerPoint, let's just talk about your big ahas from last week. What did you take away from last week's session, and what were the big ahas? Why are you here? Why are you on the call? What are you looking to take away from it? There's two different questions there.
This is the interactive part.
Anybody have it doesn't even have to be a big takeaway, a small takeaway, or a reason why you decided that this was the session you wanted to jump on with us? I have to tell you, on last Friday, I taught at a high school here in Rhode Island, and I got a lot of the same responses as I'm getting this morning or this afternoon. It was tough. So hopefully we have a little more interaction as we go on today, because as Tiffany just said a little while ago, we need your energy. It is mid-afternoon. You probably had your lunch not too long ago. Hopefully you had your lunch because it was time blocked in your calendar. But if you didn't, or you did, you could be a little sleepy. So let's get our energy up, and we have a great session for you today. I would love just someone appease me and tell me aha or something good. Tell me something good that's happening. I need to hear
the aha. Hi everyone. I'm Laura. I'm with KW Boston Metro. The big aha that I took, which might not even be an aha, it should be obvious, but that I'm competing only with myself, and that I have to strive to even be 1% better, because even if I'm 1% better, it's still better than nothing.
Laura, I thank you very much, one, for participating, and two, for saying that, because that is so important. Because I was actually doing a consultation earlier today, and Tiffany was on the Zoom during that consultation. And what we spoke about, Laura, was that particular thing, was reminding ourselves that we're in a competition for ourselves, not other people. And in today's world, with social media at the realm, like the helm, of what happens with a lot of stuff in our world, we could see a lot of promotions, a lot of just listings, just sold. And sometimes that could feel like, am I doing enough? Am I succeeding? Because these people feel like it looks like everybody else is succeeding more than I am. And you know what? The reality of it is, if you are just in the game of competing against yourself, you are the one that's winning. You are the one that's getting more successful every day. And that 1% is a big deal. It might not seem like a big deal, but it really, truly is. So Laura, thank you for mentioning that, because in today's world, it is hard. It's tough.
And Jen, just to stay on that, what's 1 + 1?
In my world, it's 2.
And what's 1 + 1 + 1?
It's 3. Oh boy.
Right. So
much higher than that.
so if you yeah, we don't math. So if you're doing one activity a day or one activity a week, and there's 52 weeks in a year, what does that one look like after 52 weeks? So it's absolutely a great conversation to have.
Yeah, and that is a big aha, a big one. So again, thank you, Laura, for sharing that. Okay, Tiffany. Laura gave us the intro. Why don't we move on with the show?
Let's do it. You gonna handle the Zoom, or am I handling the PowerPoint?
I do not have the PowerPoint up, but if
all right,
you want me to get it,
I'm on it. I am on it. I am on it. All right, everybody see my screen?
Yes, I see it.
Do you still see it?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So I already talked about our session 1 in review. It was really the domino, having the conversation around the domino. And this week, we're talking about my 2 favorites. Maybe, let's go back. Yeah, no, we're good. Everything matters equally. Does everything matter equally? Right? Things which matter most must never be at the mercy of things which matter least. And I'll be honest, I struggle with this one because I really, honestly, I would rather wash my dishes sometimes than lead generate. Because it's easier to go wash my dishes. So yes, both have to be done, and yet are they equal?
No is the answer. How
Yeah.
many of us would rather wash dishes than lead generate?
Right? I'm
Tiffany,
straight up.
You're not alone. You're not alone. I would tell you that I would rather pay somebody to wash my dishes so I could lead generate. But it's either, both of them I don't love, by the way.
Right, exactly. So then equality is a lie. In the book, it says equality is a worthy ideal pursued in the name of justice and human rights. In the real world, they're never equal. You know, how teachers grade 2 students are not equal. So it's just not equal. No matter how talented people are, the results are not equal. And that's what, I've only read this book about 15 times, and every time I read it, I still learn from it, because at the end of the day, what we have to do every day, it's really hard to make the decision of this will be a bigger return on my investment of time.
15 times you've read the book. 15. Anybody else read the book 15 times?
Yeah.
He definitely beats me on that one. All right.
This is where I need to focus.
Yeah, it's pretty relevant.
Absolutely. All right. So achievers always work from a clear sense of priority. So someone share with me, what is a priority in your world right now? And it doesn't need to be specific to business, because we're supposed to be a whole person, right? It's not just about one area. So what is a priority in your world?
Right now, for me, it's lead generating in my business and getting my house clean for Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Those are my priorities.
Those are 2
100%.
really top good ones, I have to say. And if you were on our growth call yesterday, Ed was our guest speaker. And if you were on, how many of you were on the New England Region growth call? A couple of you. Okay. What did Ed say is probably the most important thing for you to do right now, since he went through the shift in 2008 and now has seen the back end of it, right? What did he say is the most important thing for us to focus on?
Lead gen.
He said, absolutely. Who was that? That was Amy. Amy, you're right. He said, double down on your lead generation. So how many of you, listen, I know that word sometimes does not feel sexy, I guess. I don't know, great. Yet if you could find a way to lead generate to your style, to your character, it actually does become fun, and you could double down on it, and the results that happen are just absolutely tremendous. So use what Ed said yesterday on our growth call, double down on whatever your generation is, yours.
Right. And, whether we like it or not, over the last 10 years, the market has really sold the real estate. We as agents took advantage of the market, and many of us did lead generate, and yet lead generation is going to look a little bit different over the next couple of years.
Yes, Nicole.
All right. Pareto's principle. Jen.
Wait, I have to tell this story. So like I just told you a little while ago, on Friday, I went and taught at a high school, and I did this in the room. I said, who knows Pareto's principle? And the teacher was the only one that had heard of it other than the 20 class members that were in the class. And I said, okay, well, let me do a visual for you. And you know that it was so, it was the most reaction I saw from the students, by the way. And it was one of the things where it really kind of, you could see that it like sunk in with them as far as the visual. How many of you have seen the visual or have drawn out the visual of the jar? You guys know what I'm talking about, right? You have the jar and then you put in rocks, right? And the professor says what? The jar is filled with rocks. Is this full? And what do the students say?
Yes.
Yes. And they all did say that. And then I said, okay, well, now I'm going to throw in pebbles. And like, okay. So I threw in pebbles and I said, okay, now is the jar full? And what do they say?
Yes.
Yes. And I say, okay, well, one more thing. I'm going to throw in some sand. I'm going to throw sand in this jar and wiggle around and it fits. Would you guys say that this is full?
Yes.
Yes. What does he do last?
Water.
Fills it with water.
He fills it with water. The concept is real. And even high school students actually had a huge aha from that. Because a lot of times they focus on the 80%, which is social media and stuff that is not getting them to the goals that they want to get to themselves. It's for every age and every life. So it was not only an aha for those students that I was talking to last week, it was an aha for me to see that this principle is in our world everywhere. Everywhere. And we could teach this to our family and ourselves and really master it. So sorry, Tiffany, I just had to share that story because it was
Absolutely.
yeah.
Right. So you gave the description, you showed a visual of what it is, but what is the 80-20 rule?
Do you want me to tell them or can we hear from somebody?
Let's hear from somebody. I know somebody here knows what the 80-20 principle is.
It means that 80% of the outcomes come from 20% of what you put into it, or the causes.
Right.
So 80% of your activities results in 20% of your outcome. Is that what I heard?
Yes.
Tiffany, is it that way or is it the opposite of that?
No, you
What's
said
that?
it the opposite way.
Did I say it the opposite way?
She said it, 80% of your results come from 20%. That's what.
Oh
she
yeah, sorry, flip it. Sorry.
Absolutely. So let's give some examples. Working with the seller versus working with the buyer, right? We know that for every one listing, there's a potential for 2 other pieces of business. So if you're lead generating, should you put your activity in front of the buyers or the sellers?
Sellers.
Absolutely. So a 3-to-1 ratio, I'll take that all day long, right? So when we're looking exactly what was said, 20% of the effort equals 80% of the results. And this is across the board. This wasn't even proven in real estate. I can't remember the first person who proved it, but this was proven like hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So, you know, it's just the way it is.
It was land and grapes.
Landing grapes. There you
Yeah.
go. So then we talk a little bit about the to-do list, right? And I do believe in writing down everything that you desire to accomplish. However, I do not believe in taking action on the first item. So what's that next step? You have a list of 100 things that you need to do in a week, Jen. What would you do first before you even take action?
Do you mean write out my list and do the
Yeah.
do's?
Yeah, absolutely. Who's done this exercise before?
How about if you do it right now? If you have a piece of paper in front of you, or your tablet or anything your phone, you could use your notes in your phone. Write down a to-do list of what you should be doing or could be doing. Write it down as fast as you can right now. Just write down in your world, what is your to-do? Let's give examples of touching base with your database. Calling 10 people today in your database to check in. Let's go with updating your website. Let's go with checking Facebook. Let's go with saying happy birthday to everybody that today's birthday it is. Things like that. Write down what is your to-do list for today. We'll give everybody a minute to do that. Tiffany, what would be on your to-do list?
My goal is to talk to 20 folks in leadership in Keller Williams, New England, and talk to 20 agents in the region. And then I'm in the process of moving offices, so I have to pack up boxes, and I got to wash the dishes and do the laundry and set up my database in Command a little bit better. Yeah, there's a whole list of things to do.
So out of those, as everybody's writing theirs down, what is the most important thing for you to make sure you do today?
Well, looking at my goal that I set for the year, the most important thing is to talk to people to reach my financial goal.
So if you were to talk to the 20 people you're supposed to today, what do you have to do to make sure you succeed at that? Like to actually get it done? Do you have to do any kind of preparing?
I mean, I like to create a barrier and eliminate anything that will get in my way. So I have to have a clean desk. I want to make sure that all my notifications are on silence, because I am guilty of, I got a ding for Facebook and then I spend an hour and a half on Facebook. I do have that, we all do have that sometimes. So just making sure I have a bunker.
So in order to do that, and Courtney, I am coming to you. So I know you put your hand down, but I'm calling on you next. So Tiffany, for you to get that done, what is the most important thing you should do to keep on your success list? What are your top things?
And I'm fast forwarding, but honestly, it's to wake up at 4:30 in the morning, do my 45 minutes of gym, and then clear the space that I'm working in. Once I do those three things, then I immediately go into my lead generation. Because if I don't set my physical health, if I don't get on the Peloton or do some weights in the morning, I'll go back to my old habits. And so that's my first, waking up early, doing some exercise, doing my savers as Brooke talks about, and then hop into the lead generation.
Great, love that. All right, Courtney, what do you have for us? What would you like to share?
I was actually just going to ask kind of what Tiffany touched on, which is why I put my hand down, because I got a little ahead of myself. But it's like for me, it's really hard for me sometimes to commit to what I need to do. We'll use lead gen because this is applicable. It's really hard for me to get lead gen done sometimes when I know that I have 20 other things going on. And it's like, I know that if I don't get those 20 things done first, I'm not gonna be able to do lead gen. But then like those 20 other things should take 2 hours, but then something happens or one of my properties goes under contract. So I need to get that situated now. So then it's like, I know that you guys know where I'm going because we're all real estate agents, but that's how my brain works right now. And it's so frustrating trying to get over that hurdle.
Yeah, it's so relatable, Courtney. And, it's one of those things where every day, and this goes back to, I think it was Laura that said it just a little while ago, getting 1% better than I was yesterday. If you try to fix that today, where you're like, you know what, I'm going to take out all that 80% noise and go to the 20%, what ends up happening is we end up not hitting the goals, and we get overwhelmed and we kind of go backwards. So if you look at it and say, okay, what is one thing that I could make sure that I do today? And if I get these done, great, but this is the one thing that if I do today, everything else is unnecessary, or I could do it later. So use what Laura said earlier today. what's that 1%? How do you be 1% better in this one thing, the to-do list or success list is what I would
Yeah.
recommend.
Because you will die with the to-do list. Just
Ugh.
know that, like, at the end of the day, it will never go away. You always have something to do. When you do the should do's, that's when you live your best life. And it's a discipline. And Courtney, I mean, I know how busy your team is, and it's really easy to get stuck in that I need to do X, Y, and Z. You know, some of the mindset pieces around that is also, can that wait 20 minutes? Like, if I just start making calls at this moment in time and an hour, will that fire really burn down to the ground, or can they wait an hour? And on many of us, it's just a mindset of, well, it can't wait. And what did we do back in 1990s when we did not have cell phones and we could not do instant gratification and instant reaction?
Well, you know, and not only that, think about how many other agents are doing more transactions than you and have a schedule that is more purposeful. Why is that? How can somebody else get done more than you can in doing the same activities or more purposely? So and again, this is just what I would do. I would look at somebody else and say, okay, they're doing business that I want to do in the next year. Let me go talk to them. Let me go see what they're doing and see if I could start modeling my behaviors or my to-do success list on what they're doing in their schedule.
Yep. Yeah. And who's done it before you is a great way to make it happen. So now we're getting it complicated even more, right? So now we know that you have your 20%, you took your 25 down to your 5. And now let's take it down to 1%, to what Jen was talking about. Like, what is that one thing that's the only thing you're going to focus on? And if you listen to Jay Papasan, and when he does his, what's the one thing by doing such everything else becomes unnecessary, right? Like, that's the whole point of this book. That's this one thing that's on the screen right now. It can be done. It's possible. All right. And then they have at the end of the chapters, they have, okay, what action items should you take, right? Go small. Go extreme, right? Once you figured out what actually matters, so you take that one small thing and you just take off.
Well, here's how to relate it back to that list that you guys just wrote down. Look at that list. How many items on that list is a busy item, and how many things on that list was a productive item? Circle the productive items. What did you find? What did you just circle? Anybody? Jen? Yes.
Lead generation, follow up.
Lead generation, follow-up. Why is that the productive piece? Why did you circle that as a productive piece?
Because if I don't do those 2 items, then I don't have listings. If I don't do those 2 items, I don't fill my pipeline. If I don't do those 2 items, my database doesn't grow.
Thank you. And so what was a couple of the what are the couple of busy things? I'm sure your list of busy stuff was like this, and your list of productive things were like this. So what did you have on your busy list? We listed a couple already. Go ahead.
My busy list was Facebook, LinkedIn, filing away papers, things like that. If somebody else could do it, then it's busy work.
It is busy work. So let's talk about Facebook for a minute, if you don't mind. How many of us keep Facebook the first page of their phone icon or on your computer screen as a tab open all day? For me, I had to eliminate it. You know why? I'll tell you why. This is just me. If there is a red notification dot for messages, for anything, I need to remove it. So if I had Facebook on, even on my computer here, I don't have it as a tab open anymore, because if I see like, the one in parentheses, the notification, I have to go check it out because I have to clear it. That's a distraction that takes me away from doing what I was doing. That was most likely something productive. So what could you do to change or shift the way you handle Facebook? It's not something that you don't have to, like, you can still go on Facebook and be purposeful about it. But how do you shift the plan to remove it as a distraction? My way was removing it as a tab on my computer and making sure it was on the very end of my screen. So if I needed to find Facebook, I had to scroll for it. Right.
I have it on my screen where I have to scroll to the side, but I have to scroll up first. So
I
it's
like
like,
it.
it's two scrolls. So it's a scroll up and 1, 2, 3 over. So it's too many scrolls.
Yeah,
get
that's
to it.
exactly it. It's how do you distract yourself from distractions, right? So I love that. Thank you. All right.
Yeah. And to everyone's point, like say no, whether you say later or never, right? And then don't get trapped in the checkoff game. And to Jen's example, they do that on purpose because they all know how our brains work. We don't like things undone. So that little bell with 7 or 9 or whatever the number ends up being is stuff that we haven't done, which triggers us to do it. So
You know what,
they're
though?
not-
I have friends that have like 3,251 notifications for messages in their Facebook. And if they have their phone in front of me, I'm like, oh no, clear that
Yeah.
off. Anybody know a friend like that?
My C personality cannot handle that.
I can't either. I do like what Amy put in the chat, which was I put my phone on focus mode and I can't open certain apps while it's turned on. Is that on iPhone, Amy? Or is
Yes.
that Android?
I have an Android.
Yeah, I need to learn how to do that on iPhone because that is an amazing tip. How do you
Yeah.
Yeah, there's apps you can download that can do it too. Mine's just on the phone itself.
That's awesome. So you put it on focus mode and then you can't open those while you're doing what you need to do.
Yeah. We need to
Yeah.
find that app.
I love that.
Oh, you know what? iPhones have it too. We're good. It's
Can't
on
see
there.
that.
Go to settings and type in focus. You will find it. There
All
you go.
right, thank you guys. Thank you for sharing. Okay, keep going,
Absolutely.
Tiffany.
All right, so now we're on to multitasking. And this is my favorite because back in the day, I thought I was the best multitasker on the face of the planet. I did so much stuff. To do 2 things at once is to do neither. And multitasking is merely the opportunity to screw up more than one thing at a time. So, do you know how multitasking was actually created? Where
No.
it came from?
No.
Anyone?
Computer
Anybody.
programming? Was it computer programming?
It was computer programming because a computer has to, when they're doing different programs, they have to stop doing one and then do another. And they're going into multi programs. Our brains do not have multi programs. We have one brain, one action. I was like, oh yeah, I stopped that a long time ago. So if doing the most important thing is the most important thing, why would you try to do anything else at the same time? For example, picking up the phone and making a phone call and scrolling Facebook while you're waiting for them to answer. Are you really focused on who you're talking to if you do that?
Well, same thing for these Zooms. I don't know about you, but it is hard for me to stay focused and really listen and engage on a Zoom. One, if I don't have my screen on, because I'm definitely looking at my phone or my camera on. I'm definitely looking at my computer, scrolling something and checking, not on purpose, but because I'm multitasking and I think I could do both. Yet what I learn is that I'm truly never fully engaged in the one thing that I'm doing, which would be on a Zoom. So that's, I don't know if anybody can relate on that. In the world of Zooms for the last 2+ years, it has been hard for me to truly focus and get so much out of a session or whatever this is, right? Because it's just hard. It's hard to stay focused and not multitask. That's my opinion. And I've worked hard to stay focused and it's still hard, by the way. Not
Yeah.
gonna lie.
When I coach folks, I
Funny,
say,
David.
when I coach folks, I say, you have 8 items that you need to complete, right? And many of us, we either have the mindset of, okay, well, I'm going to do one project and finish it from start to finish, and then they get interrupted. What would it look like if you had 8 projects and you spent 1 hour exclusively on each one? How much more work would you get done by being solo tasking instead of multitasking?
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when you try to do 2 things at once, you either can't or won't do either. And that's where mistakes are made, right? Like I saw a typo in here. I'll call myself out. I was probably multitasking when I made that typo. So interrupted workflow. And I'm just going to go right to
The graph. I love
the
this
graph, because this graph is like point blank and period how it is. You got the primary work, then you switch, then you reorient, then you get a distraction, then you switch. Like, and do you know the stats? There's some stats on how long it takes to get refocused on something.
Well, how many of you can relate to the first graph on the top here? I could put up like 10 hands if I could. I could relate to that. And I think we're going to talk about it, yet distractions will always happen. It's the way we handle them and how we come back from them that's going to be the different result. Keep that in mind as we go through this.
Absolutely. And just share, like, before we move on, it says, you know, distractions are natural. Multitasking takes a toll. I get dark circles under my eyes when I multitask too much. Like someone on this call said, hey, your eyes are lighter. It's because I've been really focused on staying in one thing. And then distraction undermines results, right? So and I will say in my role, not only does it undermine results, it also affects my health. So,
you know, I look at that as sabotaging my own day by letting these things creep in, and then I end up being more stressed the next day because I let the distractions win the day rather than refocus myself and say, okay, the distraction happened. I'm not going to feel bad about it. Now I need to recover and do something that's more focused.
Yeah. And the fact that the dictionary actually has it as a word, it should have it as a word and then say it's a lie next to it instead of actually giving a description of what it is. If you go onto the Google and you look, there's like 6 billion articles on how to multitask. That's how much it's been bought into. It's craziness. All right. So, what else do you really want to share on this, Jen?
On multitasking?
On any of what we talked about today?
Well, this all goes back to how your calendar really looks, right? So how many of us, just curious, how many of us on this call, on a scale, give yourself a number on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 meaning I do not follow a calendar at all, 10 meaning I follow my calendar as closely as I can because I have everything blocked off in there, color coded, and I'm running it very purposely. How do you run your calendar? How do you run your day? Love to see some numbers in the chat. Bill, we're going to highlight you in a minute. I want to hear what you have going on. I'm sorry, I have to tell you, 7 is not able to be an answer, so you can't use 7.
I love that.
0 to 10, no 7s.
And here, a quick listing presentation hack. On a scale of 0 to 10, you can't say 7. How likely are you to list with me right now?
That's a great little, you can't talk. Okay, Bill can't talk, but I want to hear why he's a 10. All right, so Nicole, are you on? Are you, Stacy, Nicole, are you guys on? Can you guys talk?
Hey, I can discuss my schedule.
Please, we'd love to hear why is your schedule an 8 and how does it make it an 8?
Yeah, and I apologize if I start hacking. I get a little bit of a sinus. I've set up my schedule through just Google. I've coded it to things that are personal, things that are business growth, and then appointments. And the appointments are definitely set in a different color so that they stand out. And basically I check it in the morning. Whenever I'm in a discussion with someone, I'm not a 10 because I have to consult my calendar more often before I say yes to something, so that I'm not double booking. And I've started to incorporate notifications for those things that are very important. But I
So
will have to say that I did have to have a reminder from Amy Sheehan to jump on this call because this was not in my schedule.
Well, thank you, Amy, for the reminder to Nicole, because I'm happy to have all of you here. Nicole, can you just repeat the 3 items you have? I think it was 3 or 4 that you have highlighted differently in your calendar.
Sure. So I have like personal items. So like my savers are all in one color. If I have like a doctor's appointment or a dentist appointment, that's in that same personal color. And then like business growth items. So the pivot shift call, things like this, bold, any kind of conferences are in another color. And then my appointments set are in purple. So those stand out. And then one hack that I have in my calendar is a time block for list appointments that are in yellow. And when those list appointments are set, they go to green.
Ooh, I like
Nice.
that.
I like that.
I like that. Nicole, thank you for sharing, because I know people got some value out of your calendar and how you're using that. So thank you. And Stacy, I just want to read what you put here. You said yours is an 8 because you share it with an accountability partner. So if you could type in the chat, if you can't come on off mute, is that weekly, daily? How does that look like with your accountability partner? I love that, by the way. And it says, so she reports back with them, and then everything is time blocked, including walking her dog. I love that. And I use, I explain when I teach 6 personal perspectives out with Brooke in the region. One of the things that I talk about is my husband's calendar, which is amazing and I dislike all at the same time. It's amazing because it seems like he never forgets a thing. So just going back to Stacy really quickly, it's a weekly goal and you text daily. I love that. I love it. And you converse 2 times per week. So my husband's calendar, thank you for sharing, Stacy. My husband's calendar, it's great because he's in mortgages and every single one of his clients and coworkers think that he is just like, he remembers everything. But the truth is, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute, the truth is, if I ask him to go to the store to get 2 things, and I love Diet Coke, which I know it's weird, but I love Diet Coke and waters, he will come back with water and forget the Diet Coke if he does not have it in his calendar. He lives off of his calendar and reminding him on what to do every single day. If you looked at his calendar, it is set by reminding him to email or text a client about a commitment letter, to reminding me to take the dog to the vet, to everything. And if he says, hey, Jen, did you book the appointment to take the dog to the vet? And I say, no, I haven't yet, Matt. You know what he does? Goes on his phone, pushes it over to the next day, and he asks me the next day until it gets done. Let me tell you something, that is, it's not fun being the wife of that. Yet, does it get done? Yes, because I want to be off of his calendar. The point of that is, how purposeful can you get with your calendar, and what can you really get on there to make you prioritize the tasks that you need to get done to be successful in a challenging market?
Can I ask, can I interrupt?
Yes.
Sorry, I have a question about that. So that gets fuzzy for me about when is it something you're putting on a to-do list versus something you're time blocking for in the calendar?
I love that question because, here's the thing. His calendar will never be my calendar, by the way. I will never have those little tiny blocks of stuff that says, ask Jen about this, call client about, I will not have all of those things. I will leverage a lot of that out to get help on those. And I will have in my calendar what's going to really, my big rocks. My big rocks are going to be in my calendar. So you have to do it for what works best for you. For him, it works really well because he doesn't forget. I don't have that challenge that he has about forgetting so easily if it's not in my calendar. I will have it somewhere though. It just might not be in my calendar, if that helps, Amy.
Well,
Can I-
and to, go ahead.
I schedule out emails. So like when I get a listing, I get it under contract. I will set up an email in my Gmail to go out. And it'll be titled commitment letter. It'll be, hey, Sally, did the commitment letter come in? So they're all set and scheduled. So I don't even think about them. They will just go out.
Yeah, I love that. And there's other technology and tools that I use, which Surrey is actually something I use. And I will just say, hey, Surrey, remind me that I have to set an appointment for Brady to go to the vet. So Matt will stop asking me about it. And I'll set that to Surrey and she'll say, when do you want it set for? And I'll say tomorrow by yada, yada, yada. And it's not in my calendar, but it's in a reminder. So if you guys have your iPhone, it's really easy just to hit the button on the side here and say, hey, Surrey, remind me that I have to call my client tomorrow by 10 a.m. to congratulate them on the commitment letter that they just received, to congratulate them on having a great inspection, to congratulate them on the closing. Whatever it is, have Surrey remind you. That's what I would do instead of putting it in my calendar.
David says, is there an Android equivalent? I think it's Hey Google. My son has an Android and he says, hey Google, remind me that I have to wake up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. or whatever it is.
And if you have Alexa, she does the same thing too. Now, I
Yeah.
just probably set off some Alexas in your house, so I'm sorry. Off Alexa. Anyway, yes, so you could use any technology you want. Here's the thing, just use one that's going to work for you. And get
Absolutely.
purposeful, because if you asked me that question a while ago, what did I want to review? How purposeful is your calendar? That's it. If you could
Absolutely.
rate yourself from 0 to 10 like you did, figure out how to get 1% better, 1 point better tomorrow, what could it be?
So Jen, a part of this is we're really working on, discovering your one thing and that big why as well. So we're really parenting this class and the book with this exercise. And last week we had the assignment of, and I'll put this in the chat in a minute, it's discover your one thing now, 3 simple steps to uncover your purpose and realize your goals. And our assignment from last week was what matters. We were supposed to go in and, off the top of your head, list 4 to 5 specific activities you're passionate about and following in the following box. And then quickly outline 4 to 5 outcomes you are passionate about in following box. So I'd love to hear who took this exercise and actually did it.
We should be doing these in our session, by the way.
Well, we can, because we have our session for today. So I put this in the chat. It's there now. But I'd love to hear. And if nobody did it, let's take a minute and do it now, right? So what are 4 to 5 specific activities you're passionate about, and that, whether it be work, family, your community, your future, a hobby, a sport? Like, I love kayaking. So, and right up until now, because the weather's still not too cold, my goal is to kayak twice a week until I have to put them away. So what are those items? And then once you put those in, what are the outcomes by actually taking action on those passions? What are the results and the outcomes you desire to have? And as you're writing, feel free to share. And I'll be a little vulnerable. One of my passions is I was raised by a single mom who had me at 14. I'm the only child. I'm the oldest living female in my family. I don't have any siblings, so like the world depends on me and my immediate family, right? So one of my goals is to change the legacy and the history of our family. And my mission and my goal is to buy every one of my children a home in the next 5 years, that it's just theirs, right? And so every day I wake up, what are the things that I'm looking to accomplish to make that more of a reality? And I'm so passionate about it that when I have a setback, I actually stop for 5 minutes and I reset and say, okay, based on whatever the setback was, what do I need to change or take action on? So it could be as deep as that, or it could be as simple as, you know, I don't know, what's a simple passion, Jen? I
Well,
think deep.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have one that I'm currently active in, which I have committed to a new nutrition plan in the last 30 days. And, you know, I was talking to somebody about this earlier. And in the past 30 days, you know, I had my daughter Evie almost 4 years ago. January will be 4 years. And I was 39 when I had her. And since then, I have just had a hard time. And I think it was a hard time committing, to be honest with you, but we'll just go with, I've had a hard time really focusing on dropping weight that I just didn't want. And over the last 30 days, I did 3 things. I committed to a nutrition plan. I started preparing for the nutrition plan, and I have very high accountability on it. So what ended up happening, or what's happening, I'm in the process of, is results. And it took me over 3 years to commit to a plan, commit to the preparing, and commit to the accountability. Because sometimes the timing just isn't right for us. And it really takes those 3 things for you to get or start seeing your goals actually start working. So for me, Tiffany, it was committing to a nutrition plan, committing to preparing my meals, and when I tell you daily text messages to my nutrition coach, she's tough, by the way. I have to text her a picture of what I eat 5 times a day. 5 times a day, guys. That's high accountability. Some of you just would be like, no, I'm out. Some of my friends I've told about, they're like, I'm out. You know what? I actually enjoy the accountability, because I know that for what I want to accomplish, this is the plan that is going to get me to my goal when I want to be at my goal, if that makes sense.
All right, so you have the workbook printed out, put it into a PDF filler, fill out those 2. And then for next week, our assignment is to finish what we just talked about. And then also, now we're going to find the link. Circle the one activity and the outcome that means the most to you. Remember that your rational brain is on break. Don't think about it. Just go with your instincts. And then number 2, what's the one thing I could do in my life that would mean that would be the most to me in the world, such that by doing it, everything else would be easier. And take some time. Take some time to do this, because this is the rest of your life, and it's worth doing.
Thank you, Amy, for sharing. And then I just saw that Alan Rice just came on the call. Alan, are you here? Are you really? Is that really you? I need to say hi. Where'd he go?
I think he hopped off.
Bummer.
On and off.
All right. That's all I got today.
That's all I got. I'd love to hear anybody have any ahas they would like to share, or any actions that they're going to take.
I have a question.
Okay.
We talked about the 66-day challenge last week. Is that, I mean, I want to personally implement some things with that. Is that something that we're gonna tie in with this at all? Or
Absolutely.
some question
and-
or?
100%. And what I'll do, I'm going to share, if you want to get a head start, I will share the link to the 66-day challenge. What is the 66-day challenge, Amy?
Something to help you create a habit.
Right. Absolutely. So you essentially, we know that on average, that whole thing, it takes 21 days to create a habit, right? Not really true. We know that its average is 66 days. Some people get it done a little bit sooner. Some people it takes a little bit longer, and yet it is 66 days. So in the chat there is, and I'll share my screen really quickly, there is a cheat sheet that you can use to just track it. So if your goal, we'll make it an exercise-based goal. My habit is that I'm going to ride my Peloton for an hour every day for 66 days. That's what I write for my habit. And then every time I do it, I just put a checkbox. There are some people that if they fall off, they start all over again. Don't feel like you have to do that. Just mark it off and then keep going.
So Nicole says, if you miss a day of your 66-day challenge, does it start over again?
Some people say yes. Some people just keep going.
So here's what I would say on it. This is just my take again. I like to give a lot of my takes on things, yet Nicole, what I would say is if you skip a day and you replace it the next day with doing double, you're doing this for yourself. So if you want to start over, because that's going to make you feel better to get to the 66 days, start over. If you could double up the next day and still feel good about closing it off on the 66th day that you have that habit, then do it that way.
Yeah.
This is your 66 days. Do it as what fits for you.
I wouldn't skip 5 days. If you skip 5 days, then start all over.
So Helen is asking for the workbook. Are you talking about the PowerPoint or the printout, the downloadable?
I'm going to put both in the chat again right now.
All right. And Regina, I just want to say I love your aha. I know I already said that in the comment, but her aha was to go small, go extreme. I've read it before, but it really sunk in here. So thank you for sharing that. Any other ones before we sign off for this lovely Tuesday? All right. Thank you guys. I really enjoy coming on with you. Tiffany, great job as always. We'll see you next week. If Monday and Tuesday, we see you.
What page are
Yes.
we reading up to next?
Page 71.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right. See you guys
Guys.
next week.
Thanks.
Thank you.